Good afternoon, everybody. It's 11 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock here in Central Virginia. It's about 60 degrees. I'm Coy Barefoot, and this is Charlottesville Right Now. It's News Radio 1070 WINA. Thank you so much for being here. Coming up tomorrow, we'll talk live with Brian Wheeler, get our growth and development and local politics update. And on Thursday, we'll talk live with Congressman Tom Perriello. Speaking of Congressman Tom Perriello, let's spend some time here discussing the Republican race, the Republican primary, of course, coming up on June 8th to select a candidate who will vie against Congressman Perriello for the 5th District seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. My guest in studio is Rick Sincere. He is a Republican blogger of note. You can check him out online at ricksincere.com. Rick, we have a host of issues that we want to talk about. You have conducted interviews, face-to-face interviews, right, with
all of the 7 candidates running for the Republican nomination.
With every single one of them. So you can certainly give us your perspective as a Republican, as a a blogger and an online journalist who's really looked into their backgrounds and stories. The place I'd like to start, though, is yesterday we interviewed Lisa Provence of The Hook, who broke some news yesterday regarding Feda Morton, who is one of the Republican nominees in that primary. And the article, which is available at readthehook.com, is titled "No Kiddin', Family Values Candidate Lost Custody of Children." It's a very long article. It's very in-depth. The upshot is basically this candidate has received endorsements from all the right-wing family values folks. She's running on family values, and yet the court records show that she divorced her third husband, lost her children in a court battle, and her husband has been quoted in this article as saying, basically, she's no family values person. That's his opinion. You read the article, and I want to talk about the article, and I also want to talk about some folks were pretty angry yesterday that we were even talking about this, and they didn't think this was news. What's your perspective on this story?
Well, I think it definitely is news when a candidate puts himself or herself out there and says, I believe in family values, and I think that I should be able to make legislation that affects how people live their lives and how they choose to form their own families. That person should be open to criticism for how they live their own life in terms of their family values. And I think what's more significant in the article than Feda Morton's ex-husband's view is the judge in family court who said that she had anger and bitterness issues that made her an unfit mother. And because she had an outburst in the courtroom. And somebody who can't keep an even keel in a courtroom in a custody proceeding probably can't be counted on to keep an even keel as a legislator when they're facing up to the likes of Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid.
Yeah. We're talking with Rick Sincere, and the phone lines are open. 977-1070 is the phone number. Your thoughts about this story? Is it news? Should we be talking about it? And I'm very interested to hear what the listeners have to say. I know a number of people were trying to get through yesterday to share their thoughts about this story, and now is your opportunity. It's 977-1070. I think if there was a left-wing activist, a clean energy activist, who every time they got on, in front of the media, they were talking about solar and we need wind energy and I want windmills and then you find out in court records that they're actually a tremendous supporter of mountaintop removal coal mining and that they've made a fortune on that. It's not apples to apples here, but it seems to me that would certainly be news and would shed light on their political opinions.
Well, yeah, I can give you some specific examples like that. Just a few weeks ago, on grounds at UVA, I saw a movie from the Moving Picture Institute called Do As I Say, which is a documentary about liberals and progressives who don't do as they say. One example was Michael Moore, the documentary filmmaker, who claims that he's never owned any stock. But in fact, he and his wife formed a nonprofit corporation that holds hundreds of shares of stock in companies like Halliburton. Another example, closer to the one you just gave, is Al Gore, Mr. Inconvenient Truth, whose private home in Tennessee uses something like 10 or 15 times the amount of energy that an average home uses. And he's always talking about energy conservation and things like that. You can find all sorts of examples like this of how people live their private lives that impinges on their public policy positions in a negative way. And I think people should be called out for that kind of hypocrisy. On the Republican side, on the conservative side, it happens that people hold themselves out as avatars of family values. And we have the example today from Indiana where Congressman Mark Souder was asked to resign by John Boehner, the minority leader, because he had an affair with an aide. Not only that, the two of them, Congressman Souder and his aide, made a video talking about how important abstinence is. If you find hypocrisy in the dictionary, Mark Souder's picture is next to it.
Yeah. So we're talking with Rick Sincere. It's ricksincere.com, and the phone lines are open 977-1070. We invite the listeners to join this program at any moment when it so moves you. 977-1070. Certainly, hypocrisy is nothing new in American politics. And this story in the hook, it certainly appears to be a story about hypocrisy on the part of Feda Morton, Republican nominee down in Fluvanna County.
It certainly does. As I commented on the Hook's website yesterday, it's perfectly okay for Feda Morton to have 3 husbands, but she says it's not okay for gay people to even get married once. I think that, when she says that I should not be able to form a family, but that she can do it multiple times. And when, the Bible says that anybody who gets divorced and remarried is an adulteress or an adulterer, depending on which side you're on, that seems to me the height of hypocrisy. Telling some people how to live their lives while not living your own life in the way you claim to be is very hypocritical in a way that affects the lives of other people. If somebody is hypocritical,
and that's the larger point here, right? Somebody running on a family values ticket is going to get in office and make decisions, wants to make decisions, is telling voters, I'm going to make decisions that affect goes not just the boardroom, but your bedroom.
Right. And that's what I think is important.
Is there any bigger definition of big government? And yet we see the Republicans running on this ticket left and right.
I don't care if, the chairman of the board of Walmart has skeletons in the closet in his private life. I don't care whether the president of the University of Virginia has those kinds of skeletons. But when somebody is making policy for the rest of us based on those hypocritical points of view, that is important. That is relevant.
We're talking with Republican blogger Rick Sincere. He's online at ricksincere.com. The phone lines are open, 977-1070. We'll take a quick break. When we get back, we'll find out what Rick thinks about the extent to which this article might damage Feda Morton's chances to win the nomination. This is Charlottesville Right Now.